Three Mile Island and Love Canal were two environmental damages that caused a lot of controversy in the United States. Love Canal started when William T. Love wanted to build a community electrically powered by waterfalls. He was a land developer who wanted to build the community in Niagara Falls, New York. During the 1890 Depression, investors decided to cut off his funding due to lack of money, and the canal was abandoned after being only partially finished. In 1942, Hooker Electrochemical Company received permission from the city to start dumping toxic waste and chemicals into the canal. Approximately 21,800 chemicals were placed in the canal by Hooker, 14 chemicals of which were found to affect the brain and nervous system. In 1953, Hooker decided to sell the canal and about 70 feet of land on each side of the canal. The Niagara School Board purchased the land and canal for $1 to build a school and neighborhood, and Hooker told them about the toxic chemicals in the deed, but the school board decided to make the purchase anyway. A clay cap was placed on top of the canal to prevent rainwater damage and chemical leakage, but during the building of the school, the foundation hit the clay cap and walls of the canal. Chemicals and drums of chemical waste were detected in the soil and bad odors. The foundation was moved to a new location to finish the canal. The problem surrounding Love Canal started to arise in 1958. Residents were concerned about sludge in their basements, bad odors, and their children and pets receiving burns from playing in the school playground. In the early 1970s, heavy rainfall resulted in several types of chemicals surfacing to the ground and appearing in basements. Investigators from the Niagara Gazette found more toxic chemicals in storm sewers and basements in 1977. The Love Canal Homeowners Association was formed to create political pressure and increase the media coverage on Love Canal. On August 2, 1978, Love Canal was declared unsafe by the New York State Health Commissioner, Dr. Robert Whalen. The school was shut down and all pregnant women and children were asked to evacuate. On August 8, 1978, 238 houses were evacuated and demolished. Jimmy Carter soon declared a second emergency and 800 families evacuated and their homes were bought by the government. Finally, in May of 1990, the community was finally safe for living and people started to move back in after a considerable cleanup effort.
Then after living there for a while, Michael got really sick. Michael was healthy when he moved in. He developed liver problems, urinary tract disorder, which required 2 operations to correct. He developed asthma, epilepsy. I mean, it was just one thing after the other. And I did not know about Love Canal. Nobody told me when I bought that ideal home in the ideal community that there was 20,000 tons of chemicals underneath the school that my son would eventually be attending. And so Michael got sick and sicker, and I kept taking him to the doctor and asking the pediatrician, and he had no clue. He's like, you know, God gave you this child because you're one of these moms that he knows will take care of him. It's like, no, God gave me a healthy child. Something is making him sick. It wasn't until I picked up the newspaper one day, and there was a series on hazardous waste done by Michael Brown in the Niagara Falls Gazette, and I looked at it, and it talked about 20,000 tons of chemicals underneath the 99th Street School and leaking out into the homes. And
The 3 Mile Island accident occurred on March 28, 1979 at the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant in Harrisburg, PA. The cause of the accident was a malfunction in the Unit 2 reactor, which is a pressurized water reactor. At 4 a.m., 2 pumps stopped, causing the steam turbine to shut down. Steam was released and the coolant started to boil because the heat could not be transferred. To prevent an explosion, the relief valve was opened to drain the coolant out. The valve was supposed to be closed after draining, but it remained open for 2 hours. Emergency backup pumps were provided to pump in water, but they were closed for maintenance for over 2 weeks. The power plant was not allowed to be open if the pumps were broken for over 72 hours. One of the pumps stopped and the other one started to slow down, causing the temperature to almost reach 5,000 degrees. The contaminated water spilled onto the floor and the shields were broken by the heat, causing radioactive remains to be placed in the coolant. The building was filled with hydrogen and other gases from the coolant, and the radiation in the air greatly increased. At 6:50 a.m., a general emergency was declared at 3 Mile Island. The workers at the plant were concerned about a hydrogen bubble exploding. On March 28th and 29th, radiation leaked into the building, and a 5-mile evacuation was announced for pregnant women and children. On Sunday, April 1st, Jimmy Carter visited the nuclear power plant at 3 Mile Island. The hydrogen bubble fortunately decreased and it never erupted. The disaster at 3 Mile Island was a byproduct of human error and mechanical problems. Approximately 2 million people were exposed to the radiation and toxic chemicals. The commissioner of NCR, Victor Galinsky, said about the accident, What shook the public the most was seeing the men in the white lab coats standing around and scratching their heads because they didn't know what to do. The reactor was permanently shut down after the accident. Monitoring cleaning of the plant had been continuing for over 15 years, and in 2014, the facility will most likely shut down. The disasters of Love Canal and 3 Mile Island had a huge impact on America and are lasting reminders to take care of the environment. The Love Canal disaster helped start the creation of groups such as the Citizens Clearinghouse for Hazardous Waste, which helps communities that have severe environmental problems. Sarah Nick Stevenson says Love Canal has kept the grassroots movement alive, encouraging residents' awareness of and mobilization against neighborhood contamination. The Environmental Protection Agency began to play a bigger role in the United States and created more acts to protect the environment. The Toxic Substance Control Act made by the EPA regulates chemical usage and helps to stop future problems. Love Canal also played a role in the creation of the 1980 Superfund bill, which provides funds for cleanups of waste dumps. Americans were finally understanding the consequences of being careless about their environment. They slowed down the building of nuclear power plants after 3 Mile Island. Fortunately, nuclear power plants have been safer to operate after new laws and regulations were made. The control rooms are more accessible and simple to use. New plants have been built farther away from populated areas, and the employees are trained better for emergency situations. The course themes that relate to my topic are natural and social environment and change and innovation. Both events brought about change in America and more natural conditions that affected our nation.